Good evening, and welcome to the election edition of the Positional Sports Talk Show Post. Live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg, and I'm joined this evening by my full bunch. I got the whole post crew in the house tonight. I got my partners in crime. Let's start out with the man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, Jay Wills? Welcome back to the show, brother.
It's good. It's good to be back. I kind of feel like Lamar Jackson. I'm not 100%, but I'll get there. Just give me
that. We also got my man Ed in the building off the jump. Glad to have you right at the top of the show, Ed. How you feeling this evening, brother?
Yeah,
I feel great, and I will feel even better depending on tonight.
I know that's right.
I hear that. And on that word, what's going on, Professor? I see the message right there, brother. I hope everybody's done what they were supposed to do, because
Amen.
For most places, unless you're in the West Coast, it's too late to do that now.
That's right. So praise the Lord. Let's get it, fellas.
Let's get it. Last but not least, my brother. What's going on, J3? How you feeling this evening, brother?
My people. All I can say is thank you. When I turned on the TV this morning and I saw that we had 101 million people vote before the election started, that is awesome. So I just got to say thank you. So I'm feeling great.
Absolutely. So we're going to give you a little respite from all that's going on with the election, and we're going to give you a hot hour of sports. We're going to hit the NFL Week 8, college football update, give you a little combat sports. We got a little UFC and boxing. The professor's going to hit us with his takes and some other topics that caught our eye, and of course our final post of the evening. So again, we appreciate you all for tuning in. Sit back, relax, enjoy Post on the Positional Sports Talk Show channel.
Hey.
All right, fellas, we're going to jump right into the NFL. Before we get into any games, we got to talk about, the thing that's been hovering over us for 9 months. COVID. Saturday, during the bye week, you had 2 Cardinals test positive. Packers running back A.J. Dillon test positive. Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey tested positive. And then we just heard that Dallas quarterback, who was out on concussion protocol, Andy Dalton, just tested positive.
I don't get it.
I don't think Andy want to come back after that. Well, I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah, leave that alone.
But because of all this and what's going on with this pandemic, the NFL just dropped some new guidelines today. They're expanding the sidelines from each 20. So from 20 to 20, they're mandating that everybody spread out more. They're telling everybody that if you're not on the field, you should have your mask up. And I think it's going to get to a point, especially if this pandemic keeps going wild, that they're actually going to start fining players for not having their mask up on the sideline. So spread out.
A lot of money.
They're trying to get through this NFL season. They're even talking about possibly changing the playoffs because of this mess, because we're running out of bye week soon. So it's going to be interesting. Then you had the injuries. The biggest injuries of the week, man, the Ravens, left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, after just signing almost $100 million contract extension 2 days earlier, breaks his ankle.
Wow.
Out for the season.
2020.
You got Myles Garrett, who has a knee injury, and he was still awaiting the results of his MRI the last time I checked.
Ouch.
The 49ers got hit 3 times. Jimmy Garoppolo, high ankle sprain, and the coach said it's not the ankle he had injured before, it's a different ankle. He's out 6 weeks. George Kittle broke a bone in his foot. He's out 8 weeks. Running back Tevin Coleman that just came back from an injury, he's got a knee injury. So I mean, it's just crazy. There's a bunch of other people out there, but those are the main ones. So it is definitely going to be a battle of attrition this year in the NFL.
Truly.
I was kind of disappointed by the trade deadline, but I guess COVID stepped up in that. People were worried that if somebody comes in, then they would have to isolate and might not be available for a game or two. So no big trades to happen. Probably the biggest thing that happened was the Steelers acquiring Avery Williams from the Jets. So a man went from the worst team in the NFL to the best team in the NFL record-wise. So other than that, nothing major happened. Quan Alexandra went to the Saints from the 49ers. No big deal. So let's talk about some games.
I was hoping Will Fuller V went to Green Bay and gave Aaron Rodgers another weapon, but they couldn't finalize everything. They couldn't agree.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
So was Aaron Rodgers.
Right. So he probably gonna be mad giving another press conference again.
He should be used to it by now.
Did you see they asked him in the press conference this week, you know, what he thought they should do at the trade deadline? They said, that's not my job. Yeah. So let's talk about the game of the week. So we ain't going to play around anymore. Steelers, Ravens. Steelers remain the only undefeated team in the NFL.
Wow.
After coming back, beating the Ravens 28-24. I'm going to let y'all go ahead and tell y'all opinions of the game so I don't bias anybody. So, Ed, since those are your boys, we're going to give you first shot.
Well, it's like Coach Tomlin said after the game. He said he's not going to lie, sugarcoat it, and I'm paraphrasing it. Basically, he said that, you know, we were fortunate, the Steelers were fortunate enough to win that game. And being objective about the whole situation, they were fortunate. But I'm reminded of what we missed, what the Steelers were missing last year, because if anybody followed them, and you know, you got guys, I had been screaming on top of my soapbox last year that the Steelers had a championship defense. In fact, the defense last year was actually better than what you see this year. They lost a couple key people from last year's team. But getting back to the game, they were fortunate enough to get out of the game with a victory. They capitalized on mistakes. And really, football in the NFL, especially when you're dealing with two quality teams, evenly matched teams, a lot of times it comes down to turnovers and situational football. And Pittsburgh played situational football better than Baltimore played. And a lot of that was due to the turnovers. And I think Baltimore has an issue that they need to address because the blueprint for their success last year when Lamar took over full-time as the quarterback for the full season was run the ball, usually around 60% of the time, throw maybe 40% of the time. And they did that against Pittsburgh. They ran for 265 yards or thereabout. And again, usually that's how they won football games last year. But the turnovers are concerning. And two games that Lamar has started against Pittsburgh as last year and this year, he has 7 turnovers. He only has 15 turnovers combined as a starter in Baltimore. So when you say 7 of those are coming against Pittsburgh, that's a problem. And it's, you know, it needs to be addressed. I don't know if it's the scheme needs to be changed. I don't know. I like the scheme personally. I don't want it to change. But no, really, I'm just being objective. Like I said, I think they had a good game. The real story is the injuries. Baltimore lost all pro left tackle. That contributed to that helped as far as the outcome of the game. But really, when they did the switch, when they rearranged their offensive line, they still ran for 206. They outgained Pittsburgh almost 3-1. So, you know, Lamar was sacked 4 times, but still.
So can I jump in real quick, Ed?
Pittsburgh was fortunate enough to get out of that game with a victory.
So real quick, I was watching the game as well, and shout out to Jay Minnie because we was talking about it. We was texting each other while the game was going on, and basically she said that Lamar has too many turnovers, just like you stated, and he literally, in our opinion, he crumbles during big games. 4 turnovers, 2 interceptions, and you got where is it at? For a pick 6 and 2 fumbles. And then he only threw for 13 for 28. So, I mean, he wasn't stellar like he is against other teams. But when it comes to big games, he just doesn't show up.
Now, yeah, I'm going to chime in here now. Now, hats off to Mike Tomlin. This is why every year I want him to be coach of the year because he tells it like it is. And we said, look, great, hard-fought win, but we don't really have that much to be, jumping up and down about. You're right, Ed. They were fortunate. Lamar Jackson, J3, I said the same thing. It's the big game moments where he just crumbles. Tennessee had a blueprint for him last year in the playoffs, and the Steelers seems to always have that blueprint for him. So here's my issue with Harbaugh and the rest of the coaching staff. If you aren't adjusting his play, if you're not coaching him up, and I hate to say it, fellas, but we come back here every time outside of Patrick Mahomes when we talk about the black quarterback in the league today. Where is the development for them as passers? Lamar has a cannon, but he needs to work on his accuracy, and he definitely needs to work on his decision making. Now, you can look at Daniel Jones. He make bad decisions too because he threw a horrific pick last night. But Lamar is doing the same thing. And he don't have that type of Jason Garrett type person that's going to really mold him into the passer that he has. Now, I get Harbaugh. Last year, he was like, we're going to let Lamar be who Lamar going to be. But just like when we talk about Cam and that lack of development as a passer, that stuff has to be coached into him. Yeah, he's got great legs and all that stuff. But what happens when those things start slowing down and he can't react like he does now at age, 23, 24? Those things need to be put into place starting now. When he threw those interceptions, when he fumbled the ball, I was like, you can't win a game like that. And the fact that the running game, man, hats off to the running game for the Ravens, because that's really what kept them in the game because they were pounding, the Steelers the entire game. But it just proved to be insurmountable because he's not being coached to make the proper decisions when he needs to. So they're not going to win a Super Bowl if he can't come up big in those big game situations. You have to make the same decision. It made me mad because I was joking. And I told Janine, I was like, it's coming to a point where he and RG3 starting to look alike because RG3 had the wheels before he got hurt. But that arm just wasn't developed enough to make them a consistent passer.
You got anything to comment, Jay Wills?
I was just about to say, fortunately, Lamar Jackson plays for the Baltimore Ravens, which is a lot more polished, well-refined organization than RG3 dealt with when he was initially in Washington. I think also through that, very much like Pittsburgh, they're used to building a Super Bowl team. They know how to take their time. I don't think they're overreacting right now like a lot of individuals are. Yes, they do have some down moments, and there are some things that they can greatly improve upon. But I believe ultimately they probably feel like they have time on their side. Lamar seems like an individual who's willing to take in coaching. He'll stick around late afterwards, after practice, and he'll try to right some of his wrongs. So, yes, there are visible flaws, but I believe and trust in that organization to do what is necessary, not overreact. And redouble down on their support for him and make sure they come out the second half of this season strong enough to make a serious playoff push.
Real quick, Ed, before you go in, I'll let you have the last comment on the Steelers. I think there are 2 things that are going on right now that's hindering Lamar's development. I agree partially with what Professor Jay has to say, but I think some of that has to deal with, unfortunately, this crazy season that we had. They didn't have the ability to work on the things that they wanted to work on because there was no real training camp and all that. Didn't get a chance to work together. The second piece is they're missing their heart and soul on offense the last few weeks. Mark Ingram is their heart and soul on offense. And without him playing, they're missing that energy. And that means that more stuff gets put on Lamar's shoulder. And when Lamar's in big game, Lamar tries to do too much. And that's why he ends up having these multiple turnover games, where that's when the coaching staff needs to come in at the beginning of the game and get Lamar calmed down and get into the game. And I do agree with Mr. Wright out there. They got to get Lamar a legitimate number one receiver. Hollywood Brown's a good receiver. Probably should be a slot or definitely a number two. They need a number one receiver for him. All right, Ed, go ahead and finish this up, and then we move on to the next one.
So I actually agree with what you just said, Big Reg, and I also agree with what Professor Jay was saying. So what I'm saying is, Roman, the offensive coordinator, if you know where he came from, his first job as an offensive coordinator, he was in charge with the development of Cap. In his second year, Cap went to the Super Bowl and lost to Baltimore. And Lamar's second year, he made it to an MVP season. After the second year with Cap in San Francisco, he had never again reached those heights. He played. Roman was gone in 2 years, and then 2 years after that, I believe, or 3 years after that, Cap was out of the league. He was gone. And I hope that, and what I'm saying is, maybe Greg Roman can take him, but so far, and then after that, in order for him to continue to develop and progress as an NFL quarterback, they might need to go somewhere else. They're trying to make Lamar play a style of football that he's not capable of playing right now. And if he's not capable of playing it right now, develop the man. Don't just put him out there to fail. And that goes back to what you were saying, Professor Jay. And again, I just think the coaching staff, and I'm not putting it all on him, because when the moment gets big, I think Lamar goes back to the Louisville days where he feels that he has to do everything, and he simply doesn't. He doesn't. He has players around him. He might not have a number one receiver, but he has a first-round draft pick receiver. He has all-pro tight ends, and he has all-world running backs, as we witnessed this past week. So the talent is there around him for him to succeed, but I think the coaching needs to come up with a better game plan long term. And to what you were saying, Jay Wills, I do trust the Baltimore's organization, but I think they need to get tighten it up just a little bit when it comes to Lamar, so that they have him long term and not just like a shooting star.
Right.
And one last thing before we move on, I have full confidence in Lamar. Lamar's a worker. Lamar is the first one to tell you there's no excuses. It's on him. So as long as he keeps his head on straight and continues to work, he'll figure it out. It's just the coaching staff can help him. All right, fellas, let's move on to the other interesting game that caught most of our eyes. The Saints against the Bears. Overtime, 26-23. The Saints actually got a chance to kick 2 field goals in overtime. Picture that. Missed the first one, got the ball back and got another one. So, I mean, Alvin Kamara's a bad boy.
Yay.
Drew Brees, his demise may have been a little over-exaggerated at the beginning of the year.
Know that.
Especially considering the last couple of games they figured out how to win without their top 2 receivers.
Give Kamara the ball.
All the time.
But what do y'all think about the Bears? At 5-3, are they fraud?
Hell yeah. Nick Foles can't take you nowhere, man. You need to stop. And their defense is pissing me off. I'm going to be real with you. They are really pissing me off. Oh, my goodness.
Foles kept them in the game. Their defense was coughing it up.
Man, Lord have mercy.
I mean, if you look past 52, I mean, they got the boy from Georgia, Smith, right? Outside of
Roquan.
that, outside of that, their corners really ain't nothing to write home about. You might get flash plays from Trevathan every now and then, 59, but their defense, if it don't start with my man 52, it's like nothing is going on. But if you get him out of the way, man, you can move the ball. Yeah,
right.
I don't know. They still got that all-pro safety Eddie Jackson back there.
I'm not impressed.
Man, how many times did he flash in this game? I couldn't count one.
But
Exactly.
I'm not taking anything from. I'm not making excuses, but they did have their best interior, defensive lineman opt out prior to the season. Eddie Goldman,
Right.
And let's be honest, who on the Chicago Bears offense scares you? They have their offensive line is horrendous, like horrendous. Nick Foles he's Nick Foles. He'll give you 1 or 2, maybe 3 games a year. He's
gonna manage them. Yeah.
Allen Robinson, he's pretty good on the outside, but
And he was over there getting pissed off too.
Well, at least he didn't throw no blows.
Chicago.
Not yet, anyway.
I couldn't understand that one, but keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that alone because that was just pure stupidity.
Yeah.
Chicago is pretty much Chicago every year. There's always a quarterback issue. Do you feel like individuals just don't want to land there? It has to be something. They always have somewhat of a decent defense, but they can never quite get it going on the offensive end. It's like it's on repeat season after season after season.
It's the same.
It's the same.
You reap what you sow, because I actually think Nagy is a pretty good coach. Unlike that guy they got over there at the New York Jets, who was supposed to be an offensive guru. I think I honestly believe Nagy's pretty good. But when you pass on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes and you trade up to get the bum they got that doesn't even play, you reap what you sow. So they had an opportunity to get a quarterback.
He got in for one play.
That's their problem. The front office has not been able to identify, draft, or trade for a legitimate starting quarterback since my man, the crazy QB running around with the headband on, and he wasn't a superstar QB. He fit the team.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
and they stayed within that scheme to make him look like he was better than he was.
So they got problems. They're talking about, some people say they should put Trubisky back in. That's the last thing they want to do. If that Bama get on the field and get hurt and they got to pay him next year.
Right.
Yeah, so
Next.
Right.
So we'll move on from that. I hate talking about these people, but because it's not fair. But the NFC least had a game for first place in the division, if you want to call it that.
Hilarious.
And
How about them Cowgirls?
The City Cowboys get beat down by the second NFC East team in a row.
Yes.
And not even look like they should be on the football field.
Man, what?
Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Y'all got problems. And it's not just missing that.
He be sitting there looking like he got indigestion every time.
He probably wants to throw up. I know. I want to throw up watching that stuff.
They have personnel issues, and I don't know who's responsible because I know they have a GM. I know they have a GM in place, but I don't know if he's actually allowed to do his job. But
Jerry's a GM, isn't he?
But they have a official GM. I can't recall his name, but he's a African American young man. He's the GM. But anyway, I can't remember his name. But anyway, the talent drain on that team is shocking. like it's amazing. Like they have no defensive line. They was dependent on Alden Smith, who had been out of football for 5 years. They were dependent on another defensive lineman who can't seem to stay off of whatever substance he likes, Randy Gregory.
True.
Yeah,
they do have Lawrence on the outside, but I can't remember him making any significant plays.
Not since he signed his big contract.
Yeah, their cornerbacks are young. They let their best cornerback go to Miami. Their linebackers, Van Der Esch, he can't stay healthy.
The other one, the veteran,
Smith, Sean Lee.
Sean Lee should have retired.
Yeah,
he
could have went with Jason Witten.
Yeah, and their offensive line is in shambles, you know. And then they have this kid DiNucci, I believe that's his name, playing starting. And
Ben.
he looked like Dallas's version of Duck Hodges.
Right.
Third string quarterback.
Ben DiNucci. Come on, man. Ben DiNucci.
Say that starting again this week.
Yeah.
Ben.
So
somebody from the NFC East will be hosting a playoff game. Just imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that with like 5 victories.
that's scary. And we ain't even talked about the team that actually won the game because they got problems too. Carson Wentz,
horrible.
I know he's trying to do all he can, but I mean, he keeps turning the ball over every game. I mean, all right, that's enough. Let's just move on to NFC.
Yeah.
NFC East, we're gonna leave them alone and keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Washington. Excuse me.
Bills, Patriots.
Cam, what happened to Cam? Oh, Cam, where you at, buddy?
I just knew that last drive they were gonna pull it off, and then he coughed it.
All he had to do was keep a hold of the ball. Wrap up. That's all he had to do was wrap up.
He needed to put the ball in the right hand. He was running to the left sideline. The ball should have been in his left hand, and that would have prevented probably that. But
well, first of all, why even run with the ball? You got a running back. Get the ball to the running back.
He's their best running back.
Man. COVID. It's cloudy.
But the craziest thing is this year we're hearing more from Bill Belichick in the press conferences than we've ever heard from him. Like ever. He's actually, his latest I was shocked that he said this. He basically said they mortgaged their future to win 3 Super Bowls.
Right.
And then he said we mortgaged, he said we sold out. He didn't say mortgage, he said sold out. We sold out to win 3 Super Bowls, go to a 4th, and reach the AFC Championship game. I'm like, you don't have to recite your resume to football fans.
But you know what that sounds like, Ed? He blaming Tom Brady.
That's exactly what that is.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he did. Because that cap hit for Tom Brady leaving this year, that $21 million cap hit, he's smart.
He gave him the double barrel finger.
Yeah, he absolutely did.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. So before we jump off of this, the Bills 5-2, they've looked terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, they look
the
real
last 3 games.
Yeah,
real suspect.
And they barely beat the Jets and barely beat the Patriots, and neither one of them teams got any players. So Miami Dolphins may have a shot at that division. Wow. Speaking of the Dolphins, everybody was talking about the debut of Tua, but it was that Miami D that beat down the LA Rams to win 28-17 and one of the upsets of the day. I'm here to tell you, fellas, the Miami D is for real. Mm-hmm. And if they just take their time with Tua, don't ask them to do too much, Miami may end up 9-7 or better.
That before the season.
And make
we actually talked about that. We talked about that. Just like Ed said, you know, with all the talent that they have and all the picks that they acquired, they could be a team to watch out for, and they're definitely proving that. So we'll see in the weeks to come.
And they got a bunch of picks coming again next year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They got 2 firsts, 2 second, and like 3 thirds. So
because they traded one of their receivers, so they got another 2022 one today too. So they working it.
They setting it up for the future. They're gonna be the new kings of the AFC East.
Hey, can I leave you guys? Can I just throw this little nugget in there real quick? How is it that Jared Goff and Wentz got $100 million contracts, no questions asked,
none,
sign on the dotted line, and some quarterbacks can't even get any crumbs? That's how I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Racism.
Because Goff is some garbage. I didn't want to. I just said
racism.
Oh, he looks so terrible. Oh my God,
it's nothing hidden about that. Nothing hidden about that. All right, so rapid fire, so we can get off this NFL and move on. Seattle Seahawks with their man Dangerous Russ beat the injury-riddled 49ers 37-27, and it wasn't even that close, folks.
There you go. There's your 49ers talk.
Russell Wilson is one game behind Tom Brady's NFL record 50-plus touchdowns. So Russ is trying to get that MVP.
And you got to mention Metcalf. Come on, man. That boy is a monster.
Yeah,
he is a monster.
He's an alien. He's an alien playing football.
Man, he rounded that corner, turned on that speed,
and took it.
Yeah. The Tampa Bay Bucks on Monday night needed a fourth quarter comeback to beat the lowly Giants 25-23, and the Giants had a chance to with a 2-point conversion that had somewhat of a questionable pickup of the flag, but I didn't think that was interference. But
me neither.
Well, first of all, Tampa Bay thought that they were just going to smash the Giants, so they probably didn't even prepare for them, and so this was the result of what you got.
I agree, J3. They was looking past the Giants and that terrible record and looking toward the Saints. For all the folks that forgot, Patrick Holmes is still that man.
Yeah.
And he proved it by dropping 5 touchdowns on the Jets. So you got a choice. You can play soft zone and he'll just dissect you and beat you that way. But if you make the mistake and say you're going to man up and play man to man, Patrick gonna beat that. Woo!
That's right. That's right. The sidearm and everything. What was funny is Ben DiNucci tried to throw sidearm in that game.
So speaking of the Chiefs, real quick, what did y'all think about Le'Veon Bell and his asset to the team?
I think it's to be determined.
TBD. They still figuring out how to use him in that offense.
Yep.
As far as fantasy
playoff time, he'll be an asset.
What'd you say about fantasy, Jay Wills?
As far as fantasy goes, I was extremely disappointed.
Well, Sid was happy with his pick.
In another upset, the Vikings beat division rivals Packers 28-22. And I just said this. The Packers are soft as tissue paper.
Yeah,
they want to beat the Packers. All you got to do is be physical and beat them up on offense and defense, and they're going to fold.
Yeah.
That's sad to say.
But they have no defense. I don't know what happened
to him. 45 opened his mouth about Green Bay and the Packers. Like, yeah, some of them fools was probably at his rally. That's what happened.
Okay, we're going to keep it moving. The Raiders beat the Browns 16-6 in a game that you only wanted to watch if you was a diehard defensive guy or if you happen to be a fan of the Raiders or the Browns. I'm sorry, fellas. The Browns are frauds.
Fraud.
Need to keep feeding Kareem Hunt. That's what they stopped feeding him.
See, that's what you like.
We're going to leave your fantasy team out of this. Another shock. The Cincinnati Bengals and my man Joe Burrow, I got to give him his props. They continue to improve, and they beat the Tennessee Titans. And I'm just going to put it this way. The Titans played their 4th game in 3 weeks because of their COVID situation and came off a game playing the Steelers in that rough and tumble black and blue game. I just think they just beat up after all that.
Nah, I don't go for that, bro. You put on your uniform like everybody else. When it's time to play, it's time to play. So I ain't trying to hear all that. You getting paid to play. You step up when you get on the floor, on the field. I don't want to hear all that.
But Joe Burrow is better than people giving him credit for. That young man slinging that rock.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, and about I can confidently say, unless we have a succession plan in Pittsburgh, and unless they correct, no, seriously, and if they don't correct Lamar's issues right now, in 2 or 3 years,
he's gonna be the best quarterback in the league.
He's gonna be in the NFC North at least. He can't be in the league because he can't be better.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Right.
You don't think he's gonna be better than Josh Allen?
He might
already
be
better than Josh Allen.
He might be already. Yeah, he might be already.
Everybody got the deal look like, huh?
Come on, man. And last but not least, Colts beat Lions 41-21. Broncos beat the Chargers 31-30. The Chargers got to stop losing these games in the 4th quarter. They're going to get that black man fired.
That's a done deal. Phillip Rivers. I don't even understand why they brought him over there. Because Phillip Rivers he needs to go sit down somewhere. He is not a quarterback for this league right now. He needs to go sit down.
He been winning and throwing touchdowns last 2 weeks. So, and the Falcons can find a way to hold on to a lead and win, beating the Panthers 25-17.
And that's a surprise.
This weekend, you got the Packers at 49ers, Thursday 8:20. Seahawks at Bills, Sunday at 1 p.m. Bears at Titans, Sunday 1 p.m. Ravens at Colts, Sunday at 1. Dolphins at Cardinals, which should be a real interesting game. Yeah. 2 of the young QBs, Sunday 4:25. And then Sunday night game, Saints at Bucks, 8:20.
Good.
Yeah, who that?
All right, fellas, let's talk a little college football. So I know you did a little research for me. And so, hit us off on that quick highlights of college football.
All right, let's see. At Clemson superstar quarterback Trevor Lawrence tested positive for COVID. He was unable to play against BC. He was at Boston College, that is.
That just opened the door for Mr. Fields.
Wisconsin had their game against Nebraska canceled because of COVID-19, which they had 22 confirmed cases at the time. And as of today, they had up to 27, which forced them to cancel their upcoming game this Saturday, which is against Purdue. And again, we already know the Big Ten was only going 8 games this year. So now they're down to 5 games. And if they have one more cancellation, they're not going to be eligible for the Big Ten championship game because per Big Ten league rules, they have to at least have 5 games in order to qualify for the Big Ten championship. So there's something's going on in Wisconsin, and they have a problem, and we don't know what's going on with them. But anyway, Michigan suffered another disappointing loss to Michigan State. I don't know what's going on up in Ann Arbor, but Jim Harbaugh, he might need to take his khakis elsewhere. Penn State was effectively eliminated from college football playoff contention by losing to Justin Fields' Ohio State's team.
Man, what a game.
Yeah.
What a game.
Fields is looking more and more like no worse than the second pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Wow. Hopefully he doesn't go to one of those sorry franchises. Oklahoma State lost to Texas in overtime, which effectively ended the Big 12's chance at the college football playoff, if we have one. Yes. Locally, I criticized them last week, so I have to praise them this week. Maryland, led by sophomore Talia Tungavailoa, had a bounce-back game against Minnesota in an overtime thriller, 45-44 in College Park. Tagovailoa had 394 yards passing, and he had 5 touchdowns, three passing and 2 rushing, including the game winner in overtime. Clemson.
Yeah, Talia got some wheels. He got better wheels than his brother Tua.
He turned on them Jets too. Yeah, absolutely.
Because when he hit that corner, I was like, there's no way he can make it.
He was gone.
Yeah. But again, like I said, man, it's going to take some time over there in College Park. Loxley had a bad deck of cards dealt his way, but if he just recruits in Maryland and the surrounding area, he should be fine. It just might take him a couple years, but he looks like he has a quarterback at least, and that's probably the main thing you need in college football.
It's a great way to start.
Yeah, because you got to bring more talent back to Maryland, man.
And Clemson, behind senior running back Travis Etienne, who, by the way, became the all-time leading rusher in ACC history. He had 224 total yards.
Started out rocky, though.
Well, yeah. Well, they were playing without Trevor, and they had the freshman in there playing, I believe it's DJ Ugalea. Gentlemen, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. He had 342 yards and 2 touchdowns in his college debut. So that's that's pretty good.
Get ready.
And I don't
for
know
all y'all college football fans out there, they're calling him Cam 2. He's 6'4", 250, rocket arm, and can run. So
we gonna see.
Yeah. And I don't know what's going on in LSU. LSU, I don't know what's going on, but they've dropped to 2-3, and they have a bye this week, as does Bama, and they face off in Baton Rouge next week. So
I can tell you what's wrong with him. Orgeron was one of the first coaches to run his mouth when this pandemic first happened, and he paying the price now. He should have shut his mouth.
They put that juju on him down there. They put that juju on him.
I didn't want to say it.
Well, he's actually been running his mouth since they beat Alabama last year in Tuscaloosa. He's been running his mouth. He hasn't stopped. So he didn't even want to talk about Alabama in his press conference this week, but let's move on. So this week we have some big things coming down the pike this week. We have the Pac-12. They finally returned. They only have 6 games scheduled. Hopefully they don't have any COVID cases or delays. Georgia and the battles Florida in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville. That's going to be for supremacy of the SEC East. Clemson, the big marquee game this weekend is Clemson travels to Notre Dame without Trevor Lawrence once again.
Here come the Irish.
So that has not only has ACC implications, that has national championship implications at stake. So that's going to be a big game. And
they better wear some protective gear.
And the only other
let's go.
And the only other game that 2 ranked teams square off against one another is the Michigan-Indiana game. And Indiana, surprise, surprise, they're 2-0 this year, which is rare. And it's rare that they come in ranked higher than Michigan. And Michigan could not lose that game. We might have a coaching change midseason if Indiana loses that game. So that's where we stand in college football this week.
I appreciate that update, Ed. And before we go to combat sports, I just want to back up to NFL. We have to send a shout out and major props out to that man up in Pittsburgh, the head coach of the Steelers, who with his win became the winningest African-American head coach, passing one of his mentors, Tony Dungy. So we got to give that man some credit and some kudos, and he brought swag to the NFL coaching sideline. So Mike Tomlin, you my man, partner. All right, we got to
give him his first chance too.
Oh yeah, he was on Dungy's staff. Dungy gave most of the successful black coaches their start. So
beautiful.
On the combat sports. We're going to start with the UFC. And, I mean, there was a card over the weekend, and the card wasn't real notable with the exception of future Hall of Famer Anderson Silva was the headliner, and he was fighting former contender Uriah Hall in the main event. And, I mean, for those who've watched it, Silva started off strong. He looked good for about 2 rounds. Got caught in the end of the 3rd round, and I'm just sorry, man. Silva, his body has taken too many punches, and he just can't handle shots to the head anymore. Because the blow that he went down in the 3rd, while it was a good blow, might have been close to the temple, that shouldn't have knocked him down like that.
Yeah.
And then he got hit again on the chin in the 4th, and thankfully, they stopped it because he wasn't going to stop. But
that hurt.
The great Anderson Silva loses again. He's lost, I think, 4 of his last 5 UFC fights. Yeah. And after the fight, Dana thanked him for all he's done. And been in the post-conference, he said, I'm not going to allow him to fight in the UFC anymore. He's done too much for the sport, and I have too much respect for him to allow him to get in this ring and possibly get injured. So
Yeah, Big Reg. I'm a little too young for Ali, but I remember when Sugar Ray got in the ring with Terrible Terry Norris. And Norris punished him, and I felt the same way. Like you looking at this living legend, and it's just hard to see them get punished the way that they did. And that's how I felt. That's all I could think about was that fight between them two when Silver was getting punished. Man, I just felt bad.
Well, like you mentioned, Hall cried at the end of that fight. So that's how much respect. I mean, Silver's a giant. I mean, he's one of the reasons I even, pay attention to UFC like I do is because of him. And I thought he should have retired maybe 3 years ago. I had no idea he was even fighting, to be honest with you. It's time.
Yeah, it's definitely time. And I like the point that you pointed out. That Hall said that was one of his idols and one of the reasons he got in the mixed martial art and wanted to be champion. Because, I mean, during his prime, Anderson Silva was the baddest man on the planet. For 10 years, he dominated that division, and he got to a point where he just got bored and started playing with people out there with his hands behind his back and doing stuff. I mean, but there's one person that's undefeated, Father Time.
So with the career that Silva has had, what do you think keeps leading him back to the octagon? Clearly, he knows better. He's a well-spoken individual, definitely knows how to think his way through issues and handle himself via interviews and whatnot. Do you think it's strictly money that keeps bringing him back?
I don't think so. He's a mixed martial artist at heart. I think he's going to be one of these guys that's going to be at a gym for the rest of his life and probably should go into coaching and training. He has like 2 or 3 MMA studios that either owns totally or has some kind of agreement with. They have his name on it. So should have some revenue coming in. Dana's taking care of him. Unless he's blowing his money, he should have money. I just think that's all he knows how to do. Just like boxers, you brought out Sugar Ray, Professor. Sometimes they feel that's all they know how to do, and they don't know how to stop. So you have to stop them. Also on that card for you NFL fans, Greg Hardy continues his UFC thing. He got a quick KO round 2. Eventually, they'll actually allow him to fight some real heavyweight contenders, and then his UFC career, I think, will end pretty quickly.
And it'll be well deserved.
So to the other pugilistic sport, Saturday night, we had 2 different boxing cards going on. We're going to start by talking about our man Gervonta Tank Davis, Baltimore's own. He took on Leo Santa Cruz. Tank put up his 135-pound belt. Leo Santa Cruz put up his 130-pound belt. And J3, what happened?
Tank took it to him for 6 rounds, and then he looked over at his trainer, and he was like, "Yeah, it's time." And after he said that, came in the 6th round, gave him that uppercut. Say night night, because before he even hit the daggone canvas, he was out.
And when J3 says out cold.
Yeah,
he was out for about 45, 50 seconds till they woke him up.
And when he woke up, he said, "I'm Batman."
But that pay-per-view card, there was 4 fights on that card.
It was more in line as far as setting fights up like the UFC. It was just like the perfect storm of fights. Like every fight was good. Like every single one of them was good. Even if they ended in defeat and knockouts, they were actually good fights until it was over.
Because they was actually throwing blows each round that they were in, they were throwing blows. It wasn't like they was tap dancing around the ring and seeing what he was going to do or see if he going to throw a punch. Nah, they was going at it each round. So it was exciting. It was exciting to see.
Except for the first fight. We got to give it. The first fight, Isaac Cruz jumped on that old man, Diego Magdalena, and he knocked that dude out in 50 seconds. So it wasn't much going back and forth on that one.
Hey, man, that man needed to take that fight to pay his child support payments. He didn't want to be in that ring. He just wanted to get that. He just wanted to get that check so he can get his, so he can get the law off of him.
That was whew.
Yeah, that was quick. Now on ESPN Plus, you had reigning unified bantamweight titleist and pound for pound boxer Naoya the Monster Inoue of Japan. He got a 7th round TKO against Britain's Jason Maloney. The Monster, for people who haven't seen him fight, right now in most boxing annals, he's in the top 5 pound for pound ranking in the world. He's a bad little dude. I mean, you're talking about bantamweight, I think is 118. So these are tiny, tiny dudes, and he be knocking people out. So, and last but not least, got to give a hats off to Michaela Meyer, New York's own. She won her first title, WBO junior lightweight title, on a dominant unanimous decision. So we appreciate the females out there doing their thing, putting their bodies on the line and making it happen. So fighting is good. We got some more big bouts coming in November, December. So we'll tell you about them as they come. Now it's time for our post takes. You ready, Professor?
I sure am. Ready for the people.
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. Well, great to see y'all this evening. So now we're going to get these post takes going rapid fire. All right. So number 1, there's another top-notch wide receiver in Tuscaloosa. His name is Devontae Smith. He has been compared to the likes of greats like Amari Cooper and Jerry Rice. In fact, he has been called Jerry Rice 2.0. It is more his unassuming appearance, his work ethic, and his unwavering desire to compete and win. He returned for his senior year because he feels that Alabama has unfinished business. Championship to him is more than an aspiration. No Trevor, maybe not a huge problem, but certainly there's certain concern for the Tigers heading into Saturday's top 4 showdown between Clemson and Notre Dame in South Bend. I believe Trevor does not play when I see him in street clothes on the sideline. It is not as much as COVID as it is with the protocol that covers heart and cardio health and wellness. He is recovering well from COVID, but not enough time according to the protocol for him to be cleared to play from a battery of cardiovascular tests that must be performed. The Pac-10 is back this weekend. Not sure if we missed them. Moving right along. If you have not seen the 18-minute heartbreaking and emotional video from Minnesota Timberwolves Karl Anthony Towns, it will really take a toll on you. In the video, he discusses making the toughest decision of his life and allowing the plug to be pulled on his mom that contracted COVID-19 and suffered a stroke while in an induced coma. The devastating news of her never regaining any sound quality of life again sent their family into a tailspin. As his dad recovered from COVID-19 himself, there was no hope for his mom, and he informed his sister, dad, and family that he had to give her peace and rest. Please keep this young phenom in your prayers. I could only think of my mom, as I'm sure you guys do too, and how that moment would have affected me, and it lasts a lifetime. NBA is up in arms because of a Christmas start. Man, I wish I had those kind of problems. The things that millionaires and multimillionaires gripe over. We hear you, but you know as well as we do that there's money to be made, and with the losses from this year, the owners want to recoup.
400 million to $1 billion to be recouped.
Right. See, the playoff teams have the biggest gripe, but those that did not make the bubble should be well rested. Dare I say, shut up and dribble? I like the way MLB does their awards. They are done after the World Series. Mookie Betts is set to become only the second player, fellas, in history to win MVP in each league. He has to beat out Freddie Freeman and Manny Machado for NL MVP. The AL MVP race features Jose Abreu, Jose Ramirez, and DJ LeMahieu. NL Cy Young pitchers are Jacob deGrom, Trevor Bauer, and Yu Darvish, with deGrom expected to join Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux with at least 3 Cy Young awards. The AL Cy Young race features Shane Bieber, Kenta Maeda, and Hyun Jin Ryu, with Bieber expected to take home the hardware. Who got traded without any big splashes? Who really cares in the NFL? If I am people like Dwayne Haskins, I am figuring a way to get out of Washington by hook or crook. This is not a situation for him here.
Agreed.
Tiger Vailoa times 2. 2 brothers, 2 victories, 2 bright futures. It is okay to hope, and hope is good. We need a viable destination here at the University of Maryland for top players, especially the ones that live in our area. Miami is ripe for a return to glory and a great destination for NFL players to go. We shall see how the trajectory of both will lead to greatness as long as they have coaches at every level that want them and believe in them. Number 9, Chase Elliott, my man. And that was a wicked donut you did following your NASCAR Cup Series victory at Martinsville. Now that the smoke has cleared, it is time for the NASCAR playoffs. Start your engines, ladies and gentlemen. And lastly, a special thanks from Post to all the players in every league and every sport for sounding the alarm for all of us to vote, to stand against injustice, and fight racism in all forms. We truly love and appreciate you all.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
Our take for tonight. Turn it back over to you, Big Ray.
Appreciate you, Professor. Appreciate you. And just a couple of little things that caught our eye before we get out of here with our final post. Congrats to the LA Dodgers. We can't get out of here without saying congrats for the winning the 2020 World Series. Our man Lewis Hamilton won his 93rd Grand Prix over the weekend, and Mercedes won their 7th Constructor Cup, which is the Factory Cup season championship in a row, mostly thanks to Mr. Hamilton. Hamilton closes in on his record time 7th F1 Series championship. If he wins one more of the last 4 races, he will get his 7th championship. We just had a NASCAR hit by the professor. Kyle Busch ended up winning the delayed Texas Motor Speedway that got pushed to Wednesday. And then Chase Elliott won at Martinsville on Sunday. The big thing about Chase Elliott winning, he knocked out the regular season champ and 9-race winner Kevin Harvick, who missed the final run by 8 points. So that's tough. That's
close.
So the final 4 drivers to race for the Cup in the championship race this weekend in Phoenix is Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamilton, and Joey Logano. So good luck, fellas. And for you boxing fans, I told you we're going to keep you abreast. There's another bad young man, Devin Haney. He's going to defend his 135-pound WBC lightweight title this Saturday versus Yuriorkis Gamboa on DAZN. So for you fight fans, check that out. All right, fellas, it's time for us to get up out of here. Time for our final post. What you got for me, Professor?
Well, I just want people to continue to be safe, keep the faith. I know there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of people worried about what the immediate future may hold. But like we spoke to each other, the brothers, earlier before we started, look, just be patient, let the stuff work out. And you know what I'm always say, praise the Lord.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Jay Wills, what you got for us, bro?
Co-signing Professor J, praise the Lord. Definitely during these times, stay safe. The COVID numbers are going back up. And be careful if you find yourself downtown DC tonight. If you're in the area where it's boarded up, you may want to get out of there as soon as possible. So stay vigilant, stay safe, keep your eyes open.
Amen.
Good advice. Good advice, Jay Wills. Good advice. Ed, what you got for us?
Hey, Professor J and Jay Will said everything I wanted to say. But like I said, just be cognizant of your neighbors and yourself as far as the COVID, and just be safe. It might end up being a couple crazy days or weeks or months. Just watch your back and watch the people that you care about.
Absolutely.
J3.
I want to give a quick shout out to Duke University's football team. young cousin Jared Garner got a one-arm catch. He mossed somebody, so I just had to put that out there. Good job. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look out for number
Congratulations,
24.
Jared.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Jared. And I like to finish on the same theme as most everybody else. First, I'd like to say thank you to all the poll workers who worked, who put their self in jeopardy for the pre-vote, early vote today during election day. I'd also like to thank all the people who were out there doing election protection. There were armies of lawyers who were online, on the phone, 24 hours a day since early voting started in this country, including my baby girl. So
Absolutely.
they were out there looking out for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Last thing I want to leave everybody with is you may be a little anxious. It may be trying time. I'm not even gonna say probably, we're not going to know the final results tonight. So relax, be patient. It might take 2-3 days, might take 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how close it is. But 100 million people voted early, and they're expecting up to 60 more million to vote today. So relax, take your time, try to turn it off the TV every now and then. Don't, overload yourself, and be patient, and please be safe.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. We appreciate your time and the opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. We're here each and every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. You can check us out live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. You can also download previous shows on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube channel is Positions on Sports Talk Show. If you have any questions, comments, send us a message. We greatly appreciate your input. But most of all, we appreciate you tuning in each and every week or checking us out. Please tell your friends and family members about the show if you like what we do. We greatly appreciate it. Like and subscribe. But of all things, stay safe, be easy, love each other, look out for each other. This has been the Positional Sports Talk Show. Peace.
See ya.
Bless you.